Hello, and welcome to the second edition of Insights by Design. This time we're talking about crafting insightful dashboards. I'm here with Andres Droege from Cluster, who is our local expert on insightful dashboards. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, so Andres, tell us what is exactly isn't an insightful dashboard? What makes it insightful?
sure. Hi, Angie. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. And by the way, you're probably one of the few people that got my last name right. The pronunciation. That's always something that I get butchered in Colombia, in Brazil, in Canada, everywhere. But that's good.
You got the
So
surprise woman from that American from Italy that speaks some
yes, that's
German.
right. That's right. Very good. Very nice. Awesome. So yes, we thank you for the time and the invite, and thanks for everyone who's here listening. We want to talk about dashboards and what in our experience what makes that a insightful, right? So from just for context, someone who doesn't know Cluster or hasn't been involved in the UX for dashboards mindset. We do analytics, but with a UX focus. So we put the user first, right? So to answer your question, Angie, about what makes a dashboard insightful, we always start with having clarity as to who is going to act on the dashboard. So who needs to be acting on the data that we're going to be showcasing on that dashboard, right? So making or clarifying even for them what decisions they need to make, whether they need to make executive or operational decisions. This is going to then steer what type of visualizations we're going to put forward on a dashboard, and then it's all about the end user, right?
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
interesting about you guys' approach. Sorry,
yep,
that you really are people persons, so to speak. That's one reason why I really love working with you guys because I just feel that you're looking into what people really need, helping them understand what they really need, what they need to see,
that's
and putting that into a dashboard. It really creates a completely different feel. And I also assume it's used much more. The usage is.
that's right. That's right. So it's not about the technology. We all have data. We all know data. We all know that that data exists. That companies have this data. The problem is displaying this data in a way that a human can interact with. So we go by a philosophy of pretty much less is more. So the less clutter you have on the screen, the better usability you're going to have for that dashboard. So making sure that there's white space so that the screen breathes, and then the information that's incoming to you visually is not overwhelming you cognitively, right? So that's pretty much in a nutshell the philosophy behind it, and the success that we've had comes from that. So we're not trying to make the user adapt to a certain technology, be it ClickSense, be it Looker, be it BigQuery, whatever it is that we're using. We just put that technology to use for the human. So if my grandmother can use the dashboard, my job is done,
Yeah.
right?
I assume that's yeah that's so true, right? You have to design it for people who aren't necessarily, I think, involved in the design process. I mean, from my experience, when you are creating a dashboard, you usually have some kind of tech expert working with usually as a business expert, and they're going to want
That's
to
right.
put as much information as possible on there, and then you're not usually speaking for someone for example, the C levels who just need to have contrite information in one place. So how do you find the balance between having enough information and not having too much information?
Right. So this comes. It's always a play between what the user needs to act upon and what level of technical knowledge he has, or he used dashboards before or not. So that depends on that type of thing, right? Let me show an example. I'm going to share my screen here. This is going to be an example in actually a few examples in Brazil, but specifically this one here, right? Just to as to your question as to how to strike a balance here. This was a dashboard that had to be put forward for the federal police in Brazil for election monitoring, the federal election last year, right? So a balance between information and beauty, or how this information is displayed, comes here when you have this information here, this dashboard, this base dashboard. This is fine. This is displaying information, the relevant information for the stakeholders, right? And that's fine. This is
Mhm.
all fine and dandy. The key metrics and key KPIs that they needed to be monitoring are there. However, this is more geared towards a tech savvy user, or someone who is going to be doing a deep analysis and deep understanding of insights, and probably work with a few filterings here to come into drilling down information into detail. This is fine on a native application, BI application. But then what if you need data, relevant data, on a very, very time sensitive manner, so that you can act upon it immediately? So that's when the design aspect comes in and takes a much bigger role, right? So that that balance is there, as we're visually inclined individuals, as mammals. We are visually inclined. We need visual confirmation of things. So the easier we make this, to get this, for example, this metric here, and understand it in a split second, the easier is going to be for the decision maker to act upon it if the KPI or the metric is in red or in green. If it's in green, okay, I don't need to really take action on it. If it's in red, then this color coding is already triggering us to think about actions that we need to take here, right? So
I think
uh,
it's an interesting point that you made. That first dashboard that you showed really looked
yeah,
like a traditional dashboard
yes,
that you see, and in most cases, this is the kind of dashboard that I've seen most of the time in my experience provided. And in the first moment, a lot of people would say that's actually a simple dashboard. And what you're saying is actually you have to be tech savvy, a little bit at least tech savvy, to use this dashboard, because you have to understand the concept of filtering, drilling down. I think that was a really
that's
interesting
right.
point that you made.
That's right. And not only this, for someone who is not used to dealing with data yet, this is not second nature, right? So there's a learning curve for them to understand the tool and look at it and really gain insights from it. So we're already used to a UI that the tech giants have instilled upon us, like, for example, the UI of Android phones or the UI
Mhm.
of Apple devices, right? So if we take this UI and make it look like an Apple device that's more intuitive, then someone, let's take my grandmother or someone in the HR department that usually they don't, they're one of the last resources in an organization that tend to come into play when it comes to data analysis. If if we bring that step closer to a look and feel that they already know, the learning curve becomes less steep for them, right? So that's the whole idea behind this, and how to craft this in a way that we can have the most impact across the organization, um, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. I don't know that I had made that connection before between your work and making it look like the phones that we're all used to. But yeah, that's kind of right. Those are the kind of dashboards
Yes, yes.
that
So
you create. Yeah.
exactly. So it's not about the beauty of it, it's about the functionality. And we're already used and trained. We have been trained over years to to use our mobile phones, and we do this as second nature. So
Hmm.
the closer we get to that with the functionality, even the color palettes can change, a dark mode or a light mode. You might like a dark mode more, and I might like a light mode more. That's not really the sauce in there, the key ingredient. The key ingredient is the usability. So we're already used to this. So if we can bring those dashboards to something that resembles what we're used to, the learning
Hmm.
curve decreases significantly, sorry, and then the adoption rates remain high, right? One,
And the some people are very passionate. Some I would say experts I've seen are very passionate about not using an overuse of certain charts. There's a lot of discussion about pie charts and that too
right.
many pie charts around. I mean,
Yes.
what about choosing the right chart? I mean, what kind of like tips and tricks do you have?
Yes. So yeah, we're all pretty much designers and front end developers here at the company, and there's a running joke in the web design world that the client always asks for, like, making the logo bigger, make the logo bigger, and then the logo becomes the most important aspect on a website. Now, if we translate this to the BI world, the equivalent would be like, give me a pie chart or give me a very convoluted table on the visualization, whereas that's not necessarily the right visualization to use, right? So you need to think about uh, the visualization type and what it's trying to convey before just blindly saying, like, hey, let's use this pie chart here because it looks nice. Sure,
Mhm.
it can look nice, but if it's not conveying the right information or helping you gain the right insights in split seconds, then you need to revisit that and use another visualization type, right? Um, Storytelling is also a component that can have a very positive impact on dashboards, depending on who is using the dashboard, right? So there's different types of dashboards that you can have. Executive dashboards for executives, they need information very quickly, right? To gain information. Then there's operational dashboards. They would look something more like this with advanced filtering options and all of this. That's
Mhm.
more for an operations type of thing. And then storytelling can be very useful for something like this, right? This is an open dashboard on, and this is in Portuguese, so I'll translate this. This is the national map on gender violence in Brazil.
I love this. I love that you took part in that project, but sorry, go ahead. That's
Yes, this
you have
was this
to.
is and a point I want to make here is that the dashboard needs to cater to the audience, right? And this one is a very different audience than, for example, an operational audience in a company or an executive audience in a company. This is geared towards the general public. This is geared towards a social problematic in Brazil, a very, very serious one, which is affecting a lot of women every day. And then we needed to have here a component of storytelling. So as you can see here, this one has a bit more text to it,
Mm.
and it's already conveying a story that then is you know uh, augmented or cemented by data, right?
Mm.
um, I think I lost the connection to the this one is connected to ClickSense, by the way, but it can be connected to any other tool. It can be connected to Tableau or Looker or whatever database you're using. And then in here, the story that we're telling here is being supported by data, right? So the visualization is different because the audience is different, right? Make sense?
No, that makes sense, and I really that really brings home because like you hear the word storytelling all the time. It needs to be storytelling, but this really is perfect way of describing. You can really see the difference between those first dashboards that you showed and this, where we really said there's more text. There has to be more text. People have to understand what they're looking at. That's a
Right.
common mistake that you kind of people assume, and that really brings it home on this dashboard where it's really walking you through the what it's trying to say. So
That's
yeah,
right.
there's another thing you also talk about. Your eyes have to naturally flow. Like there's certain things that you have to put in certain parts of the dashboard.
Yes.
Um,
So there's a few components here. For example, hierarchy of information. This is a concept that if someone's going to craft a dashboard, he needs to understand what is the most important thing or the most important topic listed out before even going into a design phase. Just list out and prioritize what content needs to be first, right? So this here is hierarchy of information. You're putting a metric here of 61% of women did not no denunció, did not go to the police and made a statement about their violence problem, right? So this is a problematic that needs to be at the forefront. So that's priority and hierarchy of information, right? Color coding makes also a difference there in that the colors you choose are going to dictate or are gonna not dictate but are gonna trigger certain emotions on your brain, and they're gonna be giving you or give your brain is gonna prioritize certain colors above others, right? Then I would say also taking care of the white space. White space is not the color white. White space is basically space for the content to breathe on the screen, right? So if I could, and something that usually happens with
mm,
developers is that they tended to cram a lot of information into a small space, right? So a developer could come in here and say, "Oh, there's a new metric that I need to track here. Let's just cram it in here, a table, a very convoluted table in here," and then it starts to really break the flow of the reading pattern of the user or the person who's acting on the dashboard, and it could become problematic if we start to creep a lot of information in a small space, right? So um, from that standpoint, we always do this, that we design first, we prototype it first, we do a few tests with users, and then we put it forward on a screen right there. So it's so that it's validated. So those points I think are important for
mm.
people who are trying to build a dashboard to understand. So hierarchy of information, white space, and the likes.
Yeah, and as you said, the story element, and of course the story, also the amount of story that needs to be there depends on the user as well. And I think this really, for me, everything you showed really drove home what I said at the beginning. You guys are people persons, I don't know the proper way, your
Hmm.
people, techies that really understand and feel the users, and this really comes across in the dashboards, and and an insightful dashboard is
Yes,
really depends on the individual who's using it, and you have to create it in a way that really makes them feel that it belongs to them, so to speak.
correct. That's right. So we help companies and individuals to get to this point, both with like training on this type of thinking, and also projects. So we execute all of this for different companies, not only in Brazil, but we have expanded now into Europe, North America, Canada, the US, and a few countries also in Latin America, Chile, Argentina, and the likes, right? So, um, one more example here is it's pretty much the same philosophy behind this. This is also in Brazil. Pagamento dos precatórios. The precatórios means in English. I'll need to translate this. It's a judiciary bonds. So basically,
Mm.
payments that have been mandated by a court to be made to companies or individuals, and that the state needs to make these payments based on some court ruling. So this is a panel that also needed to have a it's a bit of a different look and feel because it's
Mm.
more on financials, but it also is open to the public. So it needed to be a financial dashboard that conveyed information to the regular person. So this is
Mhm.
the perfect example of, for example, my mother. She's already 70 years old, and if she has some deductible that the state needs to pay her, and there was a court mandate to pay her the X amount of money, then she can come here and see the status of that
Mm.
process, right? So it is financial information and it is complex data, but it needed to be presented in a way that someone like my mother, who's 70 years old and barely can use her phone or let alone uh, you know, she
Yeah.
asked me for help with her password on her email, to be able to understand this in a way that then she can go and take accountability or take the state apparatus to account for a service that was not provided or so, right? So those are the different. So that's where you see where the when you understand the need of the end user who's going to be using this, then you start crafting
And I think
the
also the
financial
color,
statements.
because we've also had some discussions about the color aspect, because this one is obviously striking because it's so dark. Yeah, and I know this
Yeah,
isn't your work isn't that it's not coincidentally dark. That there's a logic behind some being light and some being dark. There's
that's right. Yes, yes, it's not arbitrary. The color coding is quite intentional, and because the colors have uh, an impact in our brains, like subconsciously. We already like, well, this is also culturally dependent, right? We might not have the same color codings in country A and country B, but generally speaking, a color signifies something, either alert or calmness for the person. So there is a science behind it. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. No, I think I don't know if we're nearly at the end of our time. I really love generally speaking to you about dashboards. I could do it for a long time. I don't know if there's a final message you want to give about anything we've missed from the planned discussion,
Just
or
the no, I think the just to drive the key points home for the audience, I would say, like, if you're crafting dashboards, really think about your end user first, right? And start with the hierarchy of information. Make a list of what's the most important things that need to be put on the dashboard, and stick to that list, right? White space is your friend, so the less clutter, the better. And this will avoid the end user to feel mentally exhausted when they work with this dashboard, right? At the end is data, and data can be messy and can be dense. So the more we take that load away, the better, right? And don't worry about the technology first, worry about the person first. Then the technology can be adapted to that person. Doesn't matter what technology stacks you're using, right? And that would be the main message for this, I think, Angie.
So thank you so much. I hope everyone got as much insight out of this as I did. And we're looking forward to continuing a little bit more regularly now that we've finished the holiday
Back in
season.
yes, we finished the holiday season, and
Back
yeah,
to our insights by design.
yeah.
We'll have to surprise you with some special guests, I'm sure, as well.
Yes,
And
it's yeah. I want to bring in a few people that have had not only like from within Cluster as well, but also outside the company, that have had a transformations on their data culture thanks to this approach.
that'll be
Yeah.
really interesting. Thank you so much.
All
And
right.
wherever you're joining from, a good rest of the day, however long the rest of that day will be, or night.
Yeah. Or night,
And
yes. Or if you see us asynchronously later on, also good morning, good evening, and good night, as you
exactly,
say.
that's true.
Okay.
Thanks
All
for
right.
watching, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, Angie. Bye, everyone.
Bye.